My name's Neil Clark. I'm the Wildlands Program Director for the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, also known as SUA. Our mission is protection of wilderness at the heart of the Colorado Plateau. Today we're going to fly over the Labyrinth Canyon region, looking at issues around wilderness designation and off-road vehicle travel planning, motorized use generally. And then we're going to be flying further south down towards Bears Ears National Monument and looking at BLM's vegetation removal program and the damage they've been doing in areas around Dark Canyon Plateau. 10 Mile is one of a handful of canyon systems that are tributaries to the Green River's Labyrinth Canyon. And really what makes this system so unique is that it has a perennial riparian stream in the bottom that provides exceptional wildlife habitat. Unfortunately, the Bureau of Land Management continues to allow motorized vehicles to drive right through the bottom of the canyon, which has caused significant damage to both natural and cultural resources. While the canyon's riparian system should provide some of the best bighorn sheep habitat in all of the larger Labyrinth Canyon complex, the reality is that bighorn generally avoid this canyon due to the noise and impacts from continued off-road vehicle use. As you can see, 10 Mile Canyon is quite a serpentine canyon system, and these many bends that you're seeing contain large sandstone alcoves, which are extremely important from a cultural resources perspective. The large alcove sites, combined with the riparian nature of the canyon, make 10 Mile an extremely important resource for understanding prehistoric habitation throughout the entire Colorado Plateau. We're now flying over the Labyrinth Canyon section of the Green River. On the right side of the river is the newly designated Labyrinth Canyon Wilderness Area, which was designated at the start of 2019 as part of the John Dingell Jr. Conservation Management and Recreation Act. The Dingell Act protected more than 650,000 acres of wilderness in Emery County, Utah, which is what we're seeing on the right side of the river. Labyrinth Canyon splits two counties in Utah, Grand County on the left side of the river and Emery County on the right. Unfortunately, the Dingell legislation only designated wilderness within Emery County, leaving half of Labyrinth Canyon completely unprotected. The lands on the left side of the river that you're seeing here are open to off-road vehicle use, vegetation removal, mineral leasing, while the right side of the river will forever be preserved as designated wilderness. As we can see here, Labyrinth Canyon and its many side tributaries are one interconnected system, all of which is deserving of wilderness designation. We've got our sights set on future legislation to protect the Grand County side of Labyrinth Canyon as wilderness. This is what you're seeing on the left side of the screen, so that there's both continuity of management and permanent wilderness protection for this world-class backcountry area. We're now coming up on Mineral Canyon, one of the tributaries to Labyrinth Canyon, and one that is familiar for river runners if only because it's one of the few ways to access the river from the Grand County side. As we're banking above Mineral Canyon, you can see the primary county road used to access the river as well as the White Rim and Canyonlands National Park. This entire area has not been protected and continues to be open to off-road vehicle use and development. We do, though, have an opportunity to protect some of this area absent wilderness designation, as the Bureau of Land Management will be redoing its motorized travel plan for the area. Here you can see some redundant and infrequently used motorized routes on the bottom of the screen. Again, we can see more of these redundant spur routes leading out to the rim of the canyon, many of which serve no purpose and really are based on old mineral exploration routes from 60 years ago. Now we're heading further south towards Bears Ears National Monument to look at the Bureau of Land Management's practice of mechanical pinyon pine and juniper removal. Vegetation removal involves the use of mechanical methods to kill native pinyon pine and juniper forests in order to turn these areas into grasslands. The agencies have been using this practice since the mid-1900s, and although some of the methods have changed over time, many have not. And at the end of the day, the results are really the same: abject failure and the spread of non-native grasses and invasive species. Here we're seeing some old chainings where a large anchor chain is dragged between two massive bulldozers which uproot live pinyon pine and juniper from the ground. No surprise, this practice also destroys cultural resources and biological soil crusts, which are the cornerstone of a healthy desert ecosystem. As we continue moving south, we're now entering an area generally referred to as Dark Canyon Plateau. We're now flying over a more recent vegetation removal project where the Bureau of Land Management used what's called a bullhog masticator to literally mulch live pinyon pine and juniper trees in a matter of seconds. While the agency says that this approach has benefits over the chaining method, which they still frequently do, by the way, the end result is the same: clear-cut native forests for the purpose of reseeding with forage grass species. Unfortunately, we challenged this particular project we're seeing and we're unsuccessful. The result is what you see here: clear-cut native forests. Here's more of the recent pinyon pine and juniper mastication project that we were just looking at as well. Combine that with the previous chainings on Dark Canyon Plateau, and you can start to see the full picture of destruction. Aside from destroying native forests, pinyon pine and juniper removal also serves to exacerbate climate change in the region. Removing biological soil crusts results in an increased dust and the dust on snow phenomenon seen throughout the Rocky Mountains. This increases snowmelt and runoff. Removing native vegetation during the new normal of drought results in no ability to reintroduce native species into these systems, and often you end up with nothing more than invasive fire-prone grasses. As we continue across Dark Canyon Plateau, it's hard to fathom what you're really seeing. This is tens of thousands of acres of native forests that have been obliterated by the Bureau of Land Management, really for little more than increasing big game habitat, a claim that's scientifically questionable, and giving public land ranchers more forage for their cows. These are ancient forests. Some of these stands of trees are more than 500 years old. To say that the Bureau of Land Management is in the midst of a war against native pinyon pine and juniper forests is really no understatement. It's a crude and short-sighted approach to land management, often fighting against the tide of climate change in really a futile effort to garden an entire landscape for human purposes. Well, thanks again for everyone taking this virtual overflight with us. This is an area that SUA has worked on for over 30 years, and it's raises a lot of issues, and we continue to focus on it for wilderness preservation. If you want to learn more about the issues affecting the Labyrinth Canyon region and Utah generally, please visit our website at www.suwa.org. Thanks again.